the recording. All right, guys. Same concept goes. If you have any questions, please interrupt me. Any suggestions, any input as well is more than welcome. Um, if anything, I don't feel bad about being interrupted. I genuinely do want to be interrupted just because I want to see you guys' input as far as what potentially can happen in the market. But so far, let's begin with my first pair. So AUDUSD. So the first thing we see with AUDUSD is we're going to analyze the month, giving us a simple analysis because we generally go through the monthly every single time we go through these Zoom calls. But overall, market broke away from the bearish trend line and retested on the support and resistance zone, which is within that general area. It hasn't necessarily broken beyond that, but it is within that level that it's respecting it still, and it hasn't necessarily created a new lower low. So now we look at the daily. Okay, looking at the daily, we see a lot of resistance at this level. And the confirmation that the market is getting exhausted with sellers is the fact that we see these giant wicks on the downside. If it would have been just one, we would have potentially understood that the market might maintain a downward trend, but overall, the fact that there's multiple as far as these giant wicks are concerned, then that means that the market has reached the level of resistance when it comes down to sellers. Okay, so we move on to the 4 hour. So now in the 4 hour, we are starting to analyze it in a little deeper level. We are within this consolidation zone in the 4 hour. It's within that level. It hasn't necessarily pushed below that. It has, in a sense, when it comes down to a candle, touched it, but it hasn't necessarily broken it. When we want to break is basically we want to see a giant bearish candle close off, not necessarily just with a wick. So we got to be patient and wait it out. So as far as AUD/USD, I'm still bullish on this specific pair just because of the fact that it's within its consolidation zone and the other information we see on the 1 hour. So on a 1 hour, we can clarify a little bit more information. It's simple. Is this. We see a market respecting this bearish trend line from here to here to here, multiple times hit. And now we see the market within a channel. Where the channel basically is the market is within a general area where it has a trend line on the bottom and on top, and it sort of correlates. It parallels each other. So overall, this channel is being respected simultaneously on both sides. Overall, the information given to us right here is that the potential for the market to break away from this is not necessarily high because of the fact that this specific pair setup. Sorry, I was just reading a message that was sent on the Telegram. But just because of the fact that this hasn't necessarily broken away from the support and resistance zone, it could sort of give us an idea that this market is potentially going up a little bit more. Another thing that also clarifies is the fact that within this channel, we don't see enough movement on the downside. We do see this breakaway, but this was basically the opening of the market. Overall, the market fulfilled this position, and at the same time, it's maintained that overall consolidation within this general area. So what I'm expecting, if I'm being completely honest, let me draw my fibs on this one. Well, almost an exact touch on the 61.8. So my expectation for this specific market, AUD/USD, it is Wednesday. We start to see more movements on Wednesdays and on, to be exact, Wednesday, Thursday, and a little bit of Friday. Let me mute the people that just got in this. Like I said, I'm muting you guys, but if you guys want to input anything, please feel free to unmute yourself. So overall, expectation for this setup, if I'm being completely honest, just to be safe, we could potentially see a TP hit within this general area. We can also see it on the 27% because of the fact that we do expect AUD/USD to break that consolidation and maintain that bullish trend that is expected based on our information. As far as the stop loss, it can be maintained within this general area just because of the fact that once it closes below this trend is no longer valid, and this consolidation zone has been compromised. So now we can expect the market to maintain a downward trend. So overall, when it comes down to AUD/USD, I'm expecting a bullish trend when it comes down to this specific pair setup. So EU so far. So as far as the EU is concerned, bullish. Let me explain why. So we look at the monthly, same information. I emphasize it a lot. Monthly is very important to give us a general idea of what the market could potentially do for us. So when it comes down to the monthly, we see the same constant market respecting the bearish trend, and it's respecting to the point where it has hit that resistance level at this support. So overall, when it comes down to the support and resistance level, it has not closed below this. We started to see wicks, a lot of wick exhaustion when it comes down to this, but this is the monthly, let me remind you. So we still have to wait for it to close down. So next thing we do, we look at the daily. So So far, when it comes down to this formation, same concept. Market has been respecting this bearish trend once, twice, and three times to this extent. It has broken away from it, and I was retesting at this support zone, which is confirmed by one, two, and three times that it has not necessarily broken away from it. We do see these wicks on the downside, meaning that there's a lot of exhaustion when it comes down to sellers. So overall, this is a lot of good information for potential buys when it comes down to EU. If we look at the 4 hour, we see a little bit more confirmation of the fact that we do see this giant ass candle that hasn't necessarily given us an indication that there has been a lower low or a lower high. The fact is that we do see this market create a higher high and a new higher low. So because of this information overall, we can sort of get a clear idea that this market is getting exhausted with sellers, respecting the trend line and respecting the support and resistance zone. So we can potentially see this market hit its previous high, which is within this general area. That's why my TP is within that level. Of course, once it breaks away from this zone, which is basically a re-entry to the trend line, my expectations for the market to maintain a bullish trend start to fall down because of the fact that this trend is no longer valid because of that. You got to always understand that once your trend is no longer valid, you got to keep that into consideration because once it breaks the trend, that means that your direction that you're expecting is no longer valid as far as where your TP is going to hit. So as far as EU is concerned, that's my expectation. Let's look at the 1 hour just give us a little bit more detailed look. Okay, so when it comes down to the 1 hour, we basically see a market getting exhausted with sellers. So the reason I say that is because of the fact that when we see these giant ass drops in the market, this and this, we start to see this drop and then we start to see consolidation, consolidation, consolidation. Overall, this information is valid as far as the fact that it's showing us detail within buyers and sellers, telling us exactly what's going on as far as how much momentum this market has, and it's starting to lose momentum on the downside. So that's a lot of information that we can use. If you do want to get into this setup, I would highly recommend that you do your own analysis and analyze this market to the best of your ability. Because at the end of the day, don't take a trade because I say setup or I say an analysis. Always analyze yourself and confirm with your analysis. Because at the end of the day, that's what makes you a great trader. Is the fact that you're able to analyze the market and get into a trade because of your own confirmations. Okay, now let's go to UCAD. So when it comes down to UCAD, I'm within that. If you trade UCAD, you will understand that it doesn't move as a regular pair. It does have a lot of volatility. And I emphasize that a lot because I don't want people who are barely starting to trade to get into UCAD because it moves drastically. And more than often, it'll take you out of your trade before it actually reaches your TP because of the fact that it does have those giant spikes where it generally hits your stop loss or your TP sooner than expected. So when it comes down to UCAD, we look at the month. So as far as the monthly is concerned, we see this bullish trend now being respected multiple times. It has not broken away from it, but it's still being respected. As far as this bearish trend line that we identify, the market is being respected as well as that level. And we do find a lot of support and resistance at this zone, meaning that we do find it within this general area, meaning that this previous resistance has now become support. So as far as that's concerned, the momentum within this market is potentially bullish. But that's on the monthly. We do see a lot of more movements within the smaller time frames, but it just gives us a general idea if you look at the monthly. Okay, so when it comes down to the daily, not much information as far as detail. We do see consolidation, but other than that, not much to go by. When it comes down to trading, you don't have to identify everything with every single time frame. If you do see something, apply it. If you don't try to force it. Like I say, it's not what you want to see, it's what you see. So when it comes down to UCAD at this level, we do see a trend line being respected, especially when it comes down to this bullish trend line multiple times, touch, break away, and retest exactly at this level. We do see the consolidation being respected as well. There's resistance, which is a very, in a sense, it should not be taken for granted because of the fact that it's been hit multiple times. We see a lot of wicks on the upside, meaning buyers exhaustion. And at the same time, we see the market break away from this trend line and retest it on downside, meaning that it's retesting within a level that it could potentially hit below that. So overall, when it comes down to UCAD, the momentum that I have for it is bearish. I am in a trade within it. I am within losses right now, but it's not a lot, to be honest. When it comes down to this trade setup, your risk to reward ratio should be set up beforehand. So overall, if you're willing to lose $10 and make 50 or 30, it should be your own risk management that puts you in this trade. and always have that in mind. So overall, when it comes down to UCAM, momentum for it is definitely a bearish position because of the fact that it has broken away from this trend line and retested at basically at this previous resistance. And when it comes down to this consolidation zone, we do find a lot of resistance at this level. So that's UCAT so far. Now let's go to UJ. So UJ has been playing with us. I don't know what's going on with UJ. It's been so slow these previous last week and two. I mean, it hasn't done much, but overall, let's analyze it when it comes down to monthly. Bearish trend line being respected. Market breaks away, retest. We see wicks on a downside, meaning seller exhaustion. That's on the monthly time frame. That's a higher time frame, which makes it more valid, at least indicating to us what we could potentially see in the market. So overall, when it comes down to the daily, as far as this is concerned, we see a market break away from this bearish trend line. Once, twice, three times retested and break away and retested once, twice on the upside. So overall, when it comes down to this information, we can basically identify that the market has found a lot of support at this level exactly. Overall, I'm expecting, if I'm not mistaken, with UJ to have a little bit more. Okay, I muted you guys. If you have anything to say. Okay. Yeah, if you have anything to say, just mute yourself. Otherwise, I'm just going to mute you. Nothing personal. But overall, the market respected this support zone. And we do see wicks on the downside, meaning that there's a lot of exhaustion when it comes down to sellers. So now let's look at a small time frame to give us a general idea where the market potentially could go. So when it comes down to this, we see the market break away from this previous support and resistance, break away, and it retested it. Now, this would have been potentially a confirmation for itself for anybody that saw it. But the fact is, on a small, higher time frame, we do see those trend lines. And at the same time, the market did not hesitate when it retested this level. It actually went above and beyond it, and it's now, in a sense, floating above it. So meaning that the market potentially sees a lot of momentum on the upside. So we can definitely identify this as a potential buy just because of this simple information. Now, once the market breaks away from this general consolidation zone with where it's at right now, if it does break away below that, then our analysis is no longer valid because of the fact that this is no longer, in a sense, a reliable resistance zone. So when it comes down to the 1 hour, we see it at a better detail. Market broke away from these previous support and resistance zones, and it retested it and made it a support. So overall, this information for me, as far as UJ, is confirming a buy. Potentially TP could be seen up to its previous high, which is within the general area. It could potentially go above and beyond that, but at the same time, try to be safe and not get too greedy when it comes down to the specific setup. This is something that's going to play out for a couple of days. I'm probably going to keep this trade on for the weekend if I do see confirmations. But other than that, if I don't, then I'm just going to get out of this trade. Like I said, I don't like holding trades throughout the weekend. So I'm just going to wait and see. I'll send any updates through the group chat to basically show if there's any other movement within this market. So let's go to Ripple. Okay, so as far as Ripple is concerned, has some momentum on the upside when we did our analysis last time. And to be honest, as far as Ripple right now, it's within that general area which we testing the trend line. So the monthly, we don't necessarily look at it because of the fact that cryptocurrencies is so fairly new that we don't have to analyze it at such a high time frame because it doesn't give us much information. So as far as the daily is concerned, we do see a confirmation within this trend line that I have drawn up. Trend line that's been respected multiple times. If we analyze it within this general area, let me see if I can see another position where. So basically, market we tested once, twice, and three times or four times. This is within that general area where it has been respecting those levels. So now the other thing that I do like about Ripple right now is the fact that we do see these giant wicks on the downside, meaning that there is not enough momentum to push below the support zone. So the fact is, when it comes down to Ripple, we do see this information. It is very volatile. So if you do plan to place a setup right here, expect more than likely the market to push below that and close above in a wick if that happens. Overall, I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying, based on my experience with Ripple, whenever you place a trade, make sure you have enough space for the market to move in case it hits your stop loss or in case it goes below your expected projections. So when it comes down to daily, we see this respect on the support zones. And we look at the 4 hour, we see a little bit more information. Market has respected this bearish trend line drawn up multiple times, once, twice, three, four times. It's within that descending triangle in a sense. It's also within the consolidation as far as level is concerned. It has not necessarily broken away from it, but we do see wicks on the downside, meaning that there's momentum on the upside. So now let's look at the 1 hour to give us a little bit more of a clear picture. So as far as the 1 hour is concerned, market broke away from this technically previous support, but since because of the higher time frame, we do see the fact that it has retested at this support resistance when it comes down to higher time frame and on the trend line. We could identify this as a potential buy. The way that I would get into this trade is specifically, it would be simple. I would just wait for it to consolidate within this general area. And once it breaks away from this zone, let me see. I needed to break within the zone. Once it does, my expectations and my projections for this is to potentially go up as far as that's concerned. The reason that is because once it breaks away from that previous technically low and previous high, its projection is a little bit higher than that. Your potential TP could potentially be within this general area above here. The reason I say that's because that's where the most support and resistance is found. And the reason why is because you find a lot of resistance here, support, and support, resistance within this general area. So overall, my expectation for a ripple is bullish. It could potentially go below this. And if it does, that means it's now within the other side of the bearish trend line, meaning that you could potentially get into a sell. But for right now, expectation is bullish. So now let's go to US 30. Okay, so I saw somebody send a message that said that US 30 is a potential sell. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying based on analysis I'm gonna do right now. Let's see if we find something new. So when it comes down to the monthly, same information, same concept. If you guys have been keeping up with the stock market, overall has been going crazy with a lot of news. I don't really look at news except when it comes down to stocks. So US 30 basically correlates with the SP 500 and the basically any stock when it comes down to the market. Overall, we see a bullish trend line being respected. It broke away, retested at this level. Now, the one thing that we do see valid information is the fact that the market has not broken away from this previous resistance. So the market has never broken above that. This is the highest it's ever been in years, if ever. So overall, that's on the monthly. So now we look at the daily. Overall, on a daily, we see the market start to consolidate within this general area. Of course, this is probably because a lot of people are disputing with whether the market's going up, whether it's going down, and there's a lot of money to be made within this movement. Overall, if you do trade US 30, I would highly recommend you trade it because of the fact that you can make a lot of money with it. But at the same time, there's a lot of momentum within this market at this moment, just because of the fact that there's so much news about it going on around the world. So overall, we see the market respect this bearish trend line that I had drawn up once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times to this exact point. It broke away outside of it and retested within this general area. Now, the fact is that with retested within this general area, we could potentially see a retest again with this level, but the market is acting kind of weird. This setup is kind of weird for me just because of the fact that it doesn't necessarily correlate with anything as far as just this support and resistance zone. So if you look at the 1 hour, we can genuinely see that the market respected this bearish trend line as well, once, twice, and 3 times, broke away from it, retested it, and then retested it again within this general. And another thing as well is that we see these wicks on the downside. I don't want to move that. We see these wicks on the downside, meaning that there's a lot of sellers exhaustion. Market broke away and retested as support. So overall, potential for this market to maintain a bullish trend is highly favorable. Expectation for it to hit a TP is within this general area, which is previous high, which is right here. Right here, and it's within this consolidation zone. So overall, we have multiple confirmations that the market could potentially go up, but at the same time, there's always room for it to go down. So I'm not saying that whatever analysis that I'm right. I'm just saying that this is based on my analysis and how I analyze the market. This is what I see as far as my confirmations are concerned, and I have multiple to potentially give me a direction for the upside. So now let's go to gold. Okay, so when it comes down to gold, I've been in negatives for a minute. It hasn't taken me out, but not bad as far as my potential setup is concerned. My risk to reward ratio is pretty good as far as this setup is concerned. So when it comes down to the monthly, we look at this bullish trend line, respecting once, twice, and broken away and retested 3 times. And now it's within that general where it's retesting again. So now when it comes down to this, it's retesting at the support and resistance zone. When it comes down to this higher time frame. So this is going to be a very defining moment. Once it breaks away from that, if it does break away from that, that means that the market has now created a new high, and it's within that zone where it can potentially move up high. But at the same time, we do have a lot of things going against it for it to continue maintaining that bullish trend. fact is that we do see that break away from this bullish trend line and the hit at the resistance and support zone. So now let's look at a small time frame. Let's look at the daily. So this is the daily. We can't see much information as far as it's concerned. One thing I did notice about gold is that it does consolidate a lot. And it's very simple to trade in the consolidations because once it consolidates and breaks away, that is genuinely where the market is going to go, generally speaking. But overall, we do have to keep an eye on it as far as where it could potentially maintain direction. So overall, we see the market is within this general area. It has broken away from this technical consolidation zone which is within this general area. But one thing that I don't like is the fact that it stopped within this generator. So I did get into a setup just because of the fact that I do see potential in the market going down because of all this confirmation that I have. But that's basically because of how I trade. And overall, I would always confirm with your own trading strategy, or if you make mine, confirm it with your own way of trading. So overall, market has not pushed above this. Now, if you do want to get into this setup, I would highly recommend that you wait until it breaks away from either or. If I make my losses in this one, it's completely fine. But I would rather you wait and recommend that you take this trade setup once it breaks away within this consolidation zone. Because once it breaks away from this, then that will give us a general direction as far as where the market's going to go. So as far as it breaking away from this and retesting, that's a potential buy. And that would also confirm that the market has broken away from that previous support and resistance zone on a higher time frame, meaning that it's within that general area to maintain a bullish trend. But if it does break away from this level, we could potentially see the market retest at that support resistance zone in a higher time frame and break away from that trend line and maintain a bearish momentum for a little bit longer. So meaning that we could potentially see the market hit a low from within this level. So just to be safe and sorry, I put it at this level because at the same time we don't want to get greedy in this game. But at the same time, if it does break away from this, we can maintain a trade all the way down to this level. But overall, that's something that we can project within a few days. If anything, markets have been generally slow for the past 2 weeks. Probably a lot of things going on, but overall, I have nothing to complain as far as this is concerned. All right, so that's everything that I have. If you guys have any questions